I suffered multiple concussions, playing basketball, doing sports, different things. But here is my last major concussion that I received, and it's a pretty
Okay.
epic tale. So during the summer, I would work as a camp counselor.
Okay.
Um, and originally, like after my freshman year of college, I got hired by this company called Inquest Ministries,
Okay.
basically a church camp. Um, and so we went up to South Carolina and I did an interview, got hired. I had to do two different interviews because the camp itself, like the church camp through Inquest, wasn't the entire summer.
Yeah.
And so it was at this camp that was a 4-H camp that
Okay.
I had an interview with them as well. And so for those weeks that we weren't doing Inquest camps, we were doing 4-H camps or a themed camp for kids with diabetes or kids with cancer, just
Right.
different kind of camps. I mean, this is just, if you think like Camp Anawana, we hold you in our hearts, you think that old school on the lake kind of camp. We had a blob, which was amazing. If you don't know what a blob is, it's one of those huge balloons that are blown up in the lake, and they have
Mhm.
this huge deck that you jump off of, and one kid's at the end of the balloon, and then the
Oh,
other
yeah.
kid, and you just launch them 40 feet in the air. And so
What could
it
go
just
wrong?
was right. And then there was a high ropes course, and I was trained to do belaying and
Oh,
do
yeah.
all these high ropes and stuff. It was like really outdoorsy, and I loved it. It was really cool.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. And then we also had our Inquest ministry.
Yeah.
So basically, there's two staffs, right? You have your church kids, that are in, both 4-H and church camp, and then you have
Mhm.
your staff that's just hired by the camp counselors. So there's a really interesting mix, especially if if you've ever worked in ministry or whatever. You're almost like in this little church bubble.
Right. Right.
In this situation, it was real world church bubble all together. It was a unique situation. We loved it. I loved all the staff that we worked with. We became like a family. But typical church staff, uh, there's not situations um, like where they would have like drinking parties or whatever,
Mhm.
and half the staff's not able to drink because we signed contracts that we couldn't drink.
Right.
Different things like that. But then the other half is like drunk and having a good time, but we're all hanging out together. And so we're around this campfire, and I'm talking to one of the main people that runs the camp, and he's just wasted. I mean, just wasted. And we're talking, and we call this like our family get together,
Right.
and we just hang out and we grill out and have a good time. And he's just wasted. And we're talking about Chris Tomlin, the worship leader, coming and leading worship
Yeah.
at one of our camps, and he's like, Billy, we're going to invite Chris Tomlin to our family gathering. And if he doesn't come, we're going to throw him on the fire in his leather pants.
Okay.
It just these core memories, just like we love, like it was funny. It was hilarious. It's things I'll never forget. Just
Right.
random things like that. But one year they hired this nurse, and he was this big dude covered in tattoos.
Mhm.
Um, that I truly think that he lied with his experience, um, to become the camp nurse or whatever. And he was a unique guy. Um, but he was responsible for just giving out the medication for kids, different things like that.
Right. Right.
I don't know if anything serious, we'd obviously call 911 or whatever. But something did serious happen, and it happened to me. And it was because of the camp nurse that put me in this situation. And so this is how I got my last concussion. We had these sumo suits.
Okay.
Um, if you just put on these big, huge sumo suits, you can barely move in them, and you just kind of run into each other and you sumo wrestle. You know what I'm talking
Right.
about?
Oh, yeah,
Like
yeah.
and so I had just put that on, and I put on my helmet, but I hadn't had chance to fasten um,
Like a chin
my
strap.
my chin strap for the helmet.
Okay.
And so a couple of the guys, with the nurse and another guy, thought it would be funny to spear tackle both of the us guys that were in the suits.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't realize I didn't have my helmet fastened yet.
Oh.
And so the nurse just, if you think Goldberg, like his finishing move where he just spear tackles somebody.
Yeah.
He does that. And the first thing that flies off is my helmet when he tackles me.
No.
And the first thing to hit is the back of my head. It knocks me out cold. Okay. And so I'm just
completely out.
I was completely out.
Wow.
And I come to, and everything is fuzzy. And I'm like, what is going on? And they pull me out of this suit. And then I get to the main office building, and I'm sitting there at this table, and there's a couple of other counselors, and they're all watching me. And one of the other counselors, I look at her, and I'm not in my right mind because I'm concussed. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I look at her and I go, "You are so beautiful. We need to go on a date." And then everybody just looks at each other and they're like, "We need to get him to the hospital like right now. This is serious. He would never like just
right, exactly.
Like, I'm hitting on girls like, this is the summer before I started dating Michelle. So I was single. So I mean, it was in the realm of possibilities, but
right.
I mean, it was bold, Cotton. It was bold.
So when you have a concussion, like the real player comes out in you.
And so they have the nurse drive me to the emergency room, and I have to get a CAT scan, and I'm in there, and the nurse is like I said, he's a unique person. He finds some lube in the office, and I'm still out of it. And he's like, "Billy, put this in your pocket. I'm gonna grab it from you later." I'm like, "What is this?" And he's like, "Don't worry about it. It's like flipping lube." I'm like, "What are you stealing lube for?" From
what was lube just hanging around?
It was just like in this, like I was just like, it was in like one of those rooms to see the doctor afterwards.
Oh, okay.
And so he was in like an exam room. Like I had already gotten my CAT scan or whatever, just waiting to hear and he's sitting here trying to steal stuff from the hospital and trying to steal lube. Awkward. But yeah, so that's how I got my last concussion. Knocked out sumo wrestling by a male nurse who really probably shouldn't have been a nurse that stole lube. And I hit on a girl in the process. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's one of the many tales of my camp counseling career.
Gosh.
So, but
that's hilarious. The name of your story could be the time I stole lube from a hospital and hit on a girl.
Where are you going with that? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I mean. Like,
exactly.
Part of the story. People like, where is the story going?
Yeah, you just hear bits and pieces, but yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I mean, it's horrible that you got the concussion, but
yeah,
like aftermath of you like asking the people out and then you happen to steal.
They're like,
you were like a drug mule, but it was like a lube mule.
I remember it was like I was drunk. Like I remember in my head saying, I'm thinking in my head like, "What are you saying, Billy? Stop, Billy, stop, Billy, stop." And the words are just coming out of my mouth. Like I'm normal on the inside, but what I'm saying is not what's, it's just, I'm like, it was so weird. It was so weird.
It is. It's crazy, bizarre, the things you'll say.
Yeah. But Chris Tomlin never did come to our family get together.
You never threw him in his leather pants in the fire?
It never threw Chris Tomlin in his leather pants, but I did get to hang out with him quite a bit, which was fun.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell him that story? By the way, if you get invited to our family get together, don't come.
You know what? I never told Chris that. But if he listens to the podcast and ever wants to come on, I'll tell him about it.